Hello, everybody. Just to tell you, we will be starting very shortly. We are just waiting for one of our speakers to come online, and then we'll be able to start in 2 minutes' time, hopefully.
Hola. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yes,
Hey,
hello.
bonjour.
Good evening from Indonesia.
Hi. Hi, Eddie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Could I please? I know it's lovely to be able to see each other, to be able to hear each other. Je sais que c'est super de pouvoir s'entendre et de se voir, but I would like to ask people to please turn off the video because not everybody has strong bandwidth. Mais j'aimerais bien demander à tout le monde de fermer le vidéo parce que tout le monde n'a pas une bonne qualité d'Internet. And also, please to turn off your microphones unless you are speaking. Et aussi de bien vouloir garder vos micros fermés, sauf si vous parlez. So I will introduce this 5th seminar that is being held as a webinar by RIPES Intercontinental. The first 4 were continental COVID-related webinars. The 5th one is addressing public policies at all levels for social and solidarity economy. Excuse me, could you please keep your microphone closed, Marcus? Thank you. We have translation. Nous avons de la traduction. Et Laure va mettre le lien à nouveau dans le pad pour les francophones. There is written translation and Laure is going to put the link into the pad again. It is already in the pad, but she is going to put it in the pad again. There will be English translation and French translation. Si vous êtes francophone, vous avez le lien qui apparaît là dans le pad. Si vous êtes anglophone, if you're an English speaker, when our French speaker will be speaking, you also have the link here in the pad so that you can read it. We have a conversation that is planned today between 4 very important actors in the field of social and solidarity economy, representing the 3 rather, representing the different levels of public policy. The first speaker is Madani Kumare. He is president of the African Network for Social and Solidarity Economy, the RAES. The second person who will be involved in this conversation is Laurence Quark. Laurence is the General Secretary. Berenice, can you turn off your camera, please? Thank you. Laurence is the General Secretary of the Global Social Economy Forum, which represents really the level of cities and towns. And finally, we have the honor of Vic van Buren from ILO. He's the director of the Enterprise Division. And most importantly for us, he is the chair of the UN Interagency Task Force for Social and Solidarity Economy. My name is Judith Hitchman, and I'm president of Urgency, which is the Global Community Supported Agriculture Network. And I'm also a board member of RIPES Intercontinental, which is why I have been asked to chair this webinar. So I don't know if Madani has managed to connect. I don't think so. Madani?
Je suis là, Judith.
Ah, you're there. Okay, great. Madani, do you want me to ask you questions in English or in French?
I prefer in French.
Okay. Well, for anybody who only speaks English, you can go to the pad for English and you will be able to read what Madani has to say. So the first question, really, the first element I would like to address here is starting at grassroots level. And I will ask a question to Madani and then ask our other two speakers to comment on what Madani has to say. This is a conversation, it's not a time for speeches. So Madani, from ta vision à partir vraiment de la base, comment vois-tu la politique sur l'économie sociale et solidaire comme étant pertinent à l'heure actuelle dans le monde dans lequel nous sommes et quels sont les exemples que tu peux nous fournir par rapport à cette politique et son impact réel dans une situation qui est aujourd'hui économiquement très difficile. Et si tu peux allumer ton caméra, ce serait super.
Ma caméra refuse. Bon, je ne sais pas si c'est l'opérateur ou quoi, mais ma caméra ne donne pas.
Alors, could I ask the moderator to please turn on Madani's camera while he speaks, his video, so that everybody can see Madani in Mali, in Bamako. Who is moderating?
Je vais démarrer en attendant.
Yes, do please start. And if the moderator can please turn on Madani's camera, that would be a real bonus. Est-ce que le modérateur peut... Allez, vas-y, Madani.
Merci, Judith. En attendant, je salue tout le monde. C'est un plaisir de participer à ce webinaire très important. Je pense que la question que vous posez, il faut remonter un peu à l'origine de la crise. Cette crise on va dire de la COVID a mis à rude épreuve l'ensemble des systèmes politiques et structures de tous les secteurs. Pourquoi? Parce qu'on a constaté que les réponses ont tardé à venir. Effectivement, parce que ces systèmes n'ont pas été conçus selon une approche holistique, inclusive, qui aurait eu la vertu, la faculté de pouvoir prendre en compte dès l'origine les préoccupations réelles des concernés, et ensuite de pouvoir envisager les mesures anticipatives en cas de crise ou en tout cas en cas de préoccupation sociale majeure. Cela est très important et c'est pourquoi nous avons dit que l'approche par la coproduction des politiques publiques selon le principe de l'économie sociale et solidaire est indiquée, est idéale pour que l'ensemble, on va dire, des acteurs qui ont la charge de gouverner au sommet, de conduire des organisations de société civile ou même d'intervenir de leur façon dans le secteur privé et d'autres sphères. Tout le monde a intérêt à ce que ces politiques publiques soient élaborées ensemble.
Madani, j'entends bien ce que tu dis. Est-ce que tu peux nous donner des exemples concrets de bonnes pratiques actuelles en termes de politiques publiques qui vont qui touchent le local?
Nous avons plusieurs exemples. L'exemple, en fait, la mieux partagée, c'est le cas du Mali, que vous connaissez tous autour de la table. Nous avons élaboré en 97, on a commencé le processus en 90, mais nous avons abouti à une politique en 2014. Voyez-vous, on a déjà 14 ans de processus. Et cette politique a été élaborée en collaboration avec le gouvernement du Mali, les collectivités territoriales. J'avoue qu'en son temps, nous n'avions pas intégré la dimension secteur privé. Cette politique nous permet maintenant, dans son plan d'action, de réaliser beaucoup de choses avec ces différents acteurs, collectivités et États, à travers le ministère. On a de bons exemples localement comme à l'international. Localement, nous avons mis en place des mécanismes d'appui et d'accompagnement des entrepreneurs sociaux dans les collectivités. Et cela, que ce soit des jeunes ou des femmes ou des migrants, cette collaboration nous permet de prendre en compte leurs problèmes et de développer des réponses adaptées à leur réalité. Dans cet univers, il y a également le secteur informel, donc sur lequel nous avons vocation à travailler pour le transformer en organisation d'économie sociale et solidaire. Et cela se fait en étroite collaboration avec les collectivités territoriales, parce que dans les villes, vous savez, l'urbanisation s'accompagne avec justement le foisonnement d'acteurs de l'informel, donc de l'économie souterraine, etc., qui est à la fois, on va dire, une préoccupation majeure pour les collectivités, mais pour nous autres de l'économie solidaire, une opportunité, double opportunité d'ailleurs, parce que c'est du potentiel de transformation d'institutions informelles vers du formel.
Madani, I think that's really an important point. And you said you are working with the cities and with the local authorities. So maybe I can turn this question over to Laurence at this point. I'll come back to you, Madani. Je reviendrai.
D'accord, d'accord, c'est bon.
Laurence, in terms of something like integrating youth, women, taking people from the informal sector to the formal sector and securing different elements of their livelihoods, how does GSEF work with social and solidarity economy? And maybe you can turn on your video while you're speaking.
Thank you very much, Judith. Hello to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, if anyone is connecting from this part of Asia. My name is Laurence Kwak, the General Secretary of Global Social Economy Forum. I would like to respond to this question of Judith. First of all, from our identity of GCEF. GCEF is an international network of local governments and the network of social economy organizations and enterprise who are working together with the perspective of co-creation of public policies and developing multi-stakeholder partnership and even multilateral corporations. I would say that, well, I think from the perspective of GCEF, for us, co-creation means is an effort of building process where we engage all stakeholders. So it's a process where that we create a space of dialogue between different stakeholders. And in our case, co-creation of public policies means we are doing all our best to create different space for dialogue and collaboration between local government and social solidarity economy organizations, but not as an individual organization, but as a collective body of social solidarity economy entities. So that's what we call the network of social solidarity economic organizations and enterprise. So mostly that if there is already created a representative body of social solidarity economy organizations and enterprise in a given territory, that they are mainly people who are organizing this space of dialogue and collaborations. For us, that co-creation means is a change of value system, especially a change of value system in making of decisions, and especially public decisions which affect to all citizens. Of course, that ideally, it will be good actually that we could engage with all citizens, but that's why I think that we are very open proposing even the methodology of dialogue, both with the representative system and also more wider consultation with citizens, and also through the different social medias or even e-governance mechanisms, actually to make information available to all citizens, not only to actors of social solidarity economy, even though we are discussing about public policies that matter social solidarity economy, because we think that objective of social solidarity economy is the public interest of all citizens.
Thanks a lot, Laurence. You've said two very important things there. One, which is the creation of spaces for dialogue, and the other is the question of change of value systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to turn to Vic, if I can, if you're there. In terms of the local to global dialogue, and these two very key questions, I mean, Madani very concretely gave us some of the aspects that need to be addressed, and Laurence has taken it up a level to the need for spaces for dialogue and the change of value systems. How do you see the UN Interagency Task Force and the UN as a whole fit into these preoccupations? If you'd like to join us with your video on, maybe.
Yeah, I've got the video on, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, and hi everyone. I think first of all, we've got to tackle this from both ends of the scale. The one is at a global level to up the game in terms of getting the social and solidarity economy to play a far bigger role in not only dealing with COVID-19, but in the bigger picture, dealing with the huge social deficit and the attainment of these the SDG goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. And what I think, what my observation is in the last few years is that we haven't really taken up that space. It's like being in a church of converted people, but when we walk out of the church, not many people know what we're about. And I think particularly in the developing economy, when we talk of the policy agenda, we don't have a regulatory environment in most of the developing economies that is adequately promoting the social and solidarity economy. I like the example of my colleague from Mali, and I say colleague because I'm from South Africa and a fellow African, although that is confusing to people when they see my white skin. But what we have in Mali and many of the African countries is an important role for the social and solidarity economy, but a missing regulatory environment that could promote far more social entrepreneurs. When we look at the examples that are given now of many of these pockets of excellence that are providing good and best practice scenarios of how to help during the COVID crisis, we could have far more examples if we just had a policy framework in place that would promote the social economy. But on the informalities, another good example. And we are looking today in the ILO at how we can move to an incentivized approach, working with governments and the provision of financial assistance to social entrepreneurs to move from entrepreneurs of necessity to entrepreneurs of opportunity. Because what we have is we have survival mode in many of the developing economies rather than sustainable operations. And we need to find out how we can move. So at the global level, the UN task force is going to be looking at how we can get a far bigger footprint in the United Nations system from which we can leverage into the governments the creation of regulatory environment that will promote the social and solidarity economy in a far bigger way. I'm not sure I can carry on, but I'll stop there for now. It's just
okay, I'll go back to Madani with some of these elements. Madani, si je prends les éléments qui sont sortis là, le besoin de sortir de l'entre-nous et le besoin d'avoir un cadre régulatoire pour l'économie sociale et solidaire. Le Mali a été parmi les premiers pays à avoir un cadre législatif pour la souveraineté alimentaire, ainsi que dans les premiers en Afrique à avoir un cadre pour l'économie sociale et solidaire. Quel est l'impact pour toi à la base de ces cadres et comment profiter de ces cadres et quel impact ça aurait pour toi si on avait un cadre existant plus fort à chaque niveau, y compris au niveau des Nations Unies? Madani.
Merci bien, Judith. C'est très important tous les points qui ont été signalés. Sur ce point spécifique de la souveraineté alimentaire, je vais même y ajouter la sécurité alimentaire. Vous savez que cela se construit forcément selon des normes. Et en la matière, il y a des normes internationales provenant à la fois des Nations Unies comme des organismes spécialisés de coopération. Et oui, je confirme qu'au Mali, nous avons même une loi d'orientation agricole dont l'épine dorsale est la souveraineté alimentaire. Et là-dessus, pour sortir de la théorie, nous avons mis un plan d'action avec la coordination des organisations paysannes du Mali, qui est également en lien avec beaucoup d'autres organisations de la sous-région africaine, et pour mettre un dispositif de valorisation des potentialités locales en termes de culture, en termes de savoir en transformation agroalimentaire, pour justement à la fois créer de l'abondance, excusez-moi le terme, mais également de la valeur ajoutée, qui a l'importance, disons, la vertu de pouvoir employer beaucoup de femmes, puisque c'est les femmes qui font de la transformation agroalimentaire en général, et on est là avec cette organisation paysanne à organiser tous les acteurs de la filière en coopérative, en association ou groupement, en entreprise sociale si vous voulez, et également à les accompagner à être des bénéficiaires de la protection sociale à travers des mutuelles qui sont les membres de notre réseau. Donc, nous avons des moyens de les former dans la pratique en transformation agricole, agroalimentaire. Nous avons des moyens également de les permettre d'accéder à des financements à travers les systèmes de finances solidaires pour faire face à leurs besoins de fonds de roulement. Et nous avons un aspect d'accompagnement aussi pour les aider à accéder à des marchés rémunérateurs, y compris la commande publique. Là-dessus, nous avons mené un grand plaidoyer au niveau et des collectivités et des gouvernements pour que la commande publique lève les barrières qui excluent les entreprises d'économie sociale et solidaire. Et cela, le gouvernement a été très proactif parce qu'il y a même des dispositions légales qui ont été prises pour assouplir ces barrières-là. Donc,
I think, Madani, I'm going to stop you there again, because you've given a really concrete example of how one can work from grassroots to national level and also include cities, and how this needs to be taken up at all levels of public policy. Essentially, what you have mentioned here is the whole question of, which is at the heart of social and solidarity economy, which is the relocalization of our systems. And the example you gave is how Mali has really worked on relocalizing its food system through food sovereignty legislation, and how in turn this has provided health and welfare coverage for many women, including access to appropriate loans for those women because they are involved in processing, and also in terms of how cities are working with local producers in terms of public procurement. And I know from my experience in Mali that this extends to school feeding programs, which is also very important. So I'd like to turn with this aspect to Laurence. Laurence, how do you see the precise elements of working with networks as cities benefiting the local communities in terms of relocalization of the economy and in terms of providing national social security and access to credit facilities and things like this that help the local economy to develop? What is the position of GCEF on these aspects?
Yeah, thank you very much, Judith. I think it's a very important question, and especially in a country where the entities and actors of social economy are numerous, coming from different sectors. I think it's very important to build a multi-stakeholder process which are inclusive and also which are representative. So for instance, I think GCEF is really encouraging co-creation of public policies as a process, but also as an ecosystem, in a sense that we are not proposing only decisions to be made through the participation of stakeholders, and first of all, those who are going to be affected by those decisions of public policies, but also that not only by those who participate in decision making, but all citizens. For instance, I take an example that in Seoul, when Seoul metropolitan governments wants to change their methodology of top-down public policies to co-created public policy of promotion of social economy, they have not decided what are the priority areas by the government themselves. They organize, first of all, at the very local level with all the citizens and interested communities, what could be the most important priority that public policies of social solidarity economy have to deal with. And I think over 1 year, with more than 260 meetings organized in borough and at all different levels with different economic sectors, there were 3 priorities were decided by those consultations. The first one is the decent employment creation, and especially for young people who are suffering from unemployment. Second issue is the housing accessible and decent housings, and especially in a city like Seoul, where a lot of speculation is going on, and the most suffering and victimized people are the seniors and vulnerable peoples, young people without jobs who cannot even access to a decent housing. And third very important priority came out from that consultation was the public services, but with good quality and good price in terms of affordability and accessibility. So actually that with these priorities that Seoul Metropolitan Government organized a very long series of dialogue and consultation with social solidarity economy sectors, how social solidarity economy can respond to these challenges. Of course,
Thanks.
different sectors have different proposals and different needs and different demands. And this is how it's organized in terms of system is called what we call ecosystem. So instead of nominating a few representative social economic enterprise and organization to deliver those services, to create a system where all those social solidarity economy entities can benefit, or those who are in need of financial support, they will get financial support, but those who are in need of, for instance, human resource training, they would get the human resource training. Those who are struggling with tax declarations and or legal declarations, they would get those trainings and mentorings from experts. So actually more tailored and corresponding to the need of each social economic entity to scale up their contributions and their offer to meet those more global challenges of the city. And within 5 years, that result is very interesting. Actually, more than 10% of citizens in Seoul are using social service of very good quality provided by social solidarity economic entities. And in terms of employment, actually that decent job created in the city of Seoul, more than 64% are coming from social solidarity economic sectors. And especially also with regard to the housing for young people, that they have developed very interesting bottom-up innovative practice where the young people are engaged to repairing old houses or even to develop more collective sharing houses. So I think that I'm saying that this process shows that in fact it's a negotiation between constantly very important challenges and needs of the city that has to be also met through the contribution of social solidarity economy organizations, but with the participation of citizens.
Thank you very much, Laurence. That's a really interesting input because it gives us the key, which is the genuinely consultative processes. And I think that we have a lot of consultative processes that are out there, but that are not necessarily implemented and that don't necessarily implement genuine social and solidarity economy. And what you're saying is that the three things that came out for you are decent work, housing, and public services, and that you have citizens' involvement and the creation of decent jobs and renovation of housing that has been the outcome. But what is also really important is that each case is different. Mm-hmm. The case for Mali is very different from the case in Seoul, and it would be different in any other town or city in the world. Vic, can I throw this at you now? Because my feeling from working deeply within the UN as a social movement leader over the last 10 or 12 years has always been that we are hitting our heads on a lot of different brick walls, from the SDG indicators that do not necessarily take the grassroots needs into account, or even the voices there is somehow this gap between the local and city level where things seem to move in terms of social and solidarity economy. The states where framework legislation does already exist, and a UN system where it took several years and a lot of struggle to get mention of solidarity economy as one of the effective elements of agroecology, for example, in the FAO. But how do you see the linkages that we can make and the way we can strengthen from the local to the global in public policies on the elements that Madani and Laurence have brought to the discussion now?
Thank you. You know, in Africa, we have a saying, how do you eat an elephant? And it is piece by piece. Now, what we're dealing with is a very large challenge in terms of entrenching the social and solidarity economy into the different countries where we want to operate. And at the UN system, I think we found that agencies operated in silos. We find that the NGOs have operated in silos. And part of the success of the future is going to lie in a far more coordinated approach. And so at the UN system, what we've got to do is look at the global platform that we can create, which will launch many of these initiatives in a far more coordinated fashion within the different countries and across regions. And the first one we're trying to do, and we're hoping to get it right this year, but COVID has given us a bit of a challenge regarding the timing, is to have a UN resolution on the social and solidarity economy. If we can get this resolution through, which is supported by the observers on the UN task force, which is like REPES and many others like yourselves, then we've got a platform to use and to leverage off into the national policies and the regulatory frameworks. I think what we've also got to recognize is that we've got to take a far stronger role from a leadership point of view to make our voice known. And this is where the coordination takes place, but we have to identify strong leaders on a global platform within our institutions that are prepared to take this up and partner with governments. So we find that when we talk about the social and solidarity economy resolution, we have the likes of Spain and France that we're engaging with. And we found Italy, Costa Rica. And so we can start going into the regions and find that we have got many governments who are prepared to support the global initiative. And once we've got that in place, it will be far easier then to start rolling back into the national government's arena and have this as a priority on the agenda rather than as a nice to have. And I think if we analyze the governments across the world, barring a few, the social and solidarity discussions are not on the top of their list in terms of priority. And it's something that we need to work to. Secondly, at the UN, we recognize that we need to start looking at a global program that will assist governments in rolling out and getting into place their regulatory framework. And we've put together a proposal that I'll be discussing this week with the Deputy Commissioner of the European Commission responsible for social and solidarity economy, which will be a program which we can pilot in 1 or 2 countries and see how we can mainstream this into the thinking of governments. Should that be a success, we've then got a model that we can roll out. So I'm saying it's a piece-by-piece approach. The one big gap in the social and solidarity economy offering is that of education. Not only of education within our members themselves, I'm talking of educating the future leaders out there, the youth. The youth programs, the universities, the schooling systems are void of having anything on their agenda. As I said, there might be a few exceptions, but generally the students are not aware of how the social and solidarity economy operates. And that's an angle we're going to be looking at as well. Another angle, and 2 angles, and I'll stop after these very briefly to mention them, is to have a knowledge platform. We've created a knowledge platform where we can use it as a suppository for all of the best practices and the policy formulations across the globe where people can tap in and learn about how things are being done. And the last one is the local economic development. We accept that we need to play a role in local economic development, and we're going to examine how we at the UN level can start influencing and helping at the local economic development level. I've said a mouthful, let me stop there.
Okay, thanks a million, Vic. There's some really key points there and also quite a clear path forward. So I'd like to open up now for maybe 5-10 minutes to people who might have some questions, and then ask our speakers to answer all of the questions at once, each in turn. So if anybody would like to take the floor, there is a raise hands function, in French, lever la main. If you want to raise your hand, I can then ask you, or you can also write your question in the chat box if you feel more comfortable with that. And if nobody particularly feels like asking any questions, I can also ask some more questions of our speakers here. I'm going to wait for... Berenice is asking a question here about citizens' participation that is really fundamental, but how can you make sure that this is something that is ongoing? I presume you mean, Berenice, because people change in terms of local government?
Yes, the point is, I think that for the citizen, it's often very hard to be involved in with the local authorities, and always citizens are proposing many initiatives, innovation, social innovation, and so on. But at a point, I mean, local authorities don't really listen to the civil society, I mean, to the citizens. So I would like to know what do you think about this subject? How, je vais dire en français, comment ancrer la participation de la société civile dans les pratiques des autorités locales, et pour qu'on arrive à vraiment presque à être dans la délibération, dans la décision.
Merci beaucoup, Berenice.
Yes.
There is also a question from Jamila Hassani. If you can ask your question, maybe, Jamila. Si tu pourrais passer ta question, s'il te plaît, Jamila.
Yes, of course. Mais je sais pas if it's better to ask it in French or English, because it's for all the speakers, but especially more for Madani.
Si c'est pour Madani, tu peux le poser en français, et puis comme il y a la traduction sur les pads.
Aussi français.
D'accord, très bien. Tout d'abord, je tiens à remercier le RIPES d'avoir créé cet espace, surtout pour nous qui sommes à Mayotte. Ça fait toujours du bien de pouvoir se connecter avec le reste du monde, et surtout par rapport aux réalités de l'ESS. J'avais surtout une question, parce que on a parlé tout à l'heure de lack of regulatory system, le manque de cadre légal en fait pour l'ESS, notamment sur le continent africain. Donc, la question que j'avais pour M. Komaré, c'était de savoir, du coup, comment est-ce que le changement de système, de chaîne de valeur, pardon, se passe, si vous avez des exemples concrets, et comment elles sont appuyées par des politiques publiques. Peut-être qu'on peut reprendre l'exemple du Mali.
Are there any more questions? I can say we have another couple of minutes we can dedicate to questions. If anybody would like to ask any of the three speakers another
Vous avez levé la
question.
main.
There's Andrea Agostinici.
Oui, bonjour.
Are you going to speak in English or in French, Andrea?
Whatever, peut-être en français parce que c'était plutôt dirigé à Madani.
Okay.
Mais aussi pour les autres, effectivement. Donc, c'était explorer un peu plus, bonjour à tout le monde, avant tout, explorer un peu plus cette relation qu'avait évoquée Vic sur la relation avec le, le développement économique local. Donc, en sachant qu'il y a effectivement au Mali, par exemple, un système normatif qui facilite en fait un cadre pour l'économie sociale et solidaire, comment est-ce que cela se relationne et se met en relation avec un dispositif de programmation, soit de facilitation au niveau des services ou des systèmes de financement ou de modalités, des structures d'accompagnement avec la promotion au sens large du développement économique local dans ces différents maillons et niveaux administratifs. S'il y a effectivement cet ancrage qui, à mon avis, est essentiel et c'est un peu ce qu'on a discuté aussi dans le cadre de la task force de l'économie sociale et solidaire pour maximiser, pour optimiser en quelque sorte l'énorme potentiel de l'économie sociale et solidaire, non pas seulement dans une perspective d'inclusion qui est évidemment essentielle, mais aussi vraiment proprement dite comme moteur d'une trajectoire, de différentes trajectoires de développement économique des territoires. Donc, s'il y a au niveau du Mali, mais aussi d'autres pays africains et ailleurs pour les autres, donc des exemples concrets de comment cette connexion et son potentiel en quelque sorte multiplicateur s'est effectivement mis en place et matérialisé. Merci beaucoup.
Okay, so those are three separate questions. One is on the impacts of local economic development. The other is on citizens, the difficulties and the challenges of citizens' involvement in decision-making processes, really, and how to ensure these are perennial. And the third is on the overall framework and how this can really support SSE. So maybe I will go back to Madani first, if you feel you can answer. And there's also an additional question here from Eri in terms of public policy from the National Act to the technical guideline, how the experience of Mali, which level of policy advocacy should be started first. And Leandro from Brazil, hello Leandro, is asking the speakers on the issue of global to local, how can we strengthen the sub-national and territorial policies? Because in places like Brazil, given the destruction of the Federal Republic policy, there is some resilience at state level in the different states of Brazil and also at municipal level. So maybe you can comment on that. So there are, in fact, 5 questions. Madani, address what you will, and then Laurence, and then Vic, and then I think it will be time for me to try to wind up. Madani?
Oui, d'accord.
Tu prends les éléments qui te conviennent et tu laisses ce qui ne te convient pas.
Parfait. Alors,
and could everybody, apart from Madani, please turn off their microphones, and Berenice, also your video, please.
C'est bon?
Ouais, vas-y.
Parfait. Donc, tu me permets, Judith, de confirmer ce que M. Vic disait tantôt par rapport à l'importance d'adopter une approche coordonnée et aussi des réformes. C'est très, très important. Mais à cela, il faut ajouter également qu'il faut nécessairement, qu'après tout cela, il y a l'importance aussi de la concertation pour l'action. Alors, ici aussi, il faut signaler le rôle important des acteurs de la société civile pour arriver à un espace de redevabilité et d'évaluation d'impact. Donc, je pense que dans le processus des Nations Unies, il faut absolument que cela soit également pris en compte, la redevabilité et les évaluations d'impact. Concernant les questions, oui, je dis l'ESS doit être une priorité. Et cela est d'autant plus facilité que si nous capitalisons ce qui s'est passé pendant cette COVID-19, nous avons vu l'apport très, très important, pratiquement dans tous les pays, de l'économie sociale et solidaire dans la mise en œuvre des mesures d'atténuation des impacts économiques, sociaux et professionnels. À partir de là, nous pensons que nous avons un instrument, des outils, des convictions pour renforcer le plaidoyer en faveur de l'adoption de politiques publiques, mais surtout en faveur de l'ancrage territorial de l'économie sociale et solidaire. C'est très important. Quand on parle de l'approche coordonnée, il s'agit aussi d'une approche holistique. Quand on parle de développement local, c'est d'abord les acteurs de base. Excusez-moi, mais généralement, ceux qui ont vocation à faire les politiques publiques pensent qu'ils doivent prouver leur intelligence en mettant des lignes ou des directives qui ne sont pas opératoires. Dans une approche de planification de développement local, c'est l'acteur de base qui est important. C'est sa préoccupation, ses demandes et ses besoins qui doivent être pris en compte et transformés en mécanisme de réponse. Et l'approche de l'économie sociale et solidaire est très, très bien avérée pour arriver à cette fin-là. Donc, je pense que, premièrement, il faut absolument que nous travaillions à renforcer l'ancrage territorial de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Deuxièmement, que les décideurs politiques ne se croient pas être sérieux en oubliant les populations ou les citoyens à la base, qui pensent plutôt que c'est ceux-ci qui sont au centre de leurs préoccupations et que les réponses qui les concernent doivent les impliquer. Donc ça, c'est l'inclusion. Tout le monde parle d'inclusion. Oui, mais en réalité, qu'est-ce qu'il y en a? Quand vous prenez l'Afrique, c'est par région, l'Afrique est divisée en régions, il y a des zones économiques, monétaires et de développement. Mais dans toutes les zones, vous avez des banques centrales. Les banques centrales travaillent maintenant avec les États sur des stratégies d'inclusion dites financières, mais qui sont une approche globale. Il n'y a pas que l'aspect finance, il y a aussi l'aspect d'accompagnement technique. Et cela ne peut pas se faire à partir de l'administration centrale. Cela ne peut pas se faire seulement à partir des collectivités territoriales. Cela se fait forcément à travers des acteurs de l'économie sociale et solidaire organisés au niveau de leur réseau et qui ont la vocation à accompagner de manière en proximité tous ces acteurs, de conseiller les collectivités et même de les accompagner, de les outiller parce qu'elles ne connaissent pas forcément l'économie sociale et solidaire. Et quand on prend également ces pays, nous savons que tous ces pays ont adopté des stratégies nationales de lutte contre la pauvreté, des stratégies de renforcement ou d'emploiement des femmes, des stratégies ou des politiques d'employabilité des jeunes. Nous disons qu'à un moment donné, il faut rationaliser, faire de l'urgence des visions et évoluer vers ce qu'on a en commun, qui est justement de trouver les réponses idoines aux problèmes, préoccupations et besoins des citoyens. Donc, la politique, par définition, je ne le rappelle pas, c'est la gestion des affaires de la cité. Alors, si les citoyens portent une dynamique telle que l'économie sociale et solidaire, elle doit être la priorité et mise au centre de toutes les réponses publiques, privées qu'on peut imaginer. Donc, je pense que Covid a été également un facteur pouvant nous permettre de mettre à l'échelle les bonnes pratiques après Covid avec les gouvernements. Donc,
okay, Madani, I'm going to stop you there. I think what you're saying is extremely important because certainly the present period with COVID and the disruption of life as we have known it for so long has really shown the resilience of social and solidarity economy, and has really shown how resourceful people can be, and how social and solidarity, where we do have an existing framework as an economic structure, can really be the most resilient response that we have. Laurence, can I turn this one over to you? How do you want to answer the questions that were asked?
Oui, est-ce que je réponds en français ou je réponds en anglais?
I think the majority of people are listening in English.
Oh, okay. So I would like to first respond to the question of Berenice about how to perennize the participation of citizens, which is fundamental question. Of course, I think this is a very important question, and it also depends on the degree of democratic culture which is developed in the country. In our case, especially working with the local government, it also very largely depends on the autonomy and decentralization of local governments, how much actually they have decision powers and autonomy of making their own plans and public policies. But most importantly, I would like to emphasize that if we would like to make co-creation process of public policy more permanent and more permanent, we need to bring impact, success stories for the outcome of those co-created public policies. I'm saying that especially in the countries where social solidarity economy is not the historical tradition, or it doesn't represent a very important share of economy or even the GDP. So the overall and general citizen does not see why this social solidarity economy is important and why national and local government should give more attention to social solidarity economy. So that's why I think that I have quoted the case of Seoul, how social solidarity economy is collectively responding to the most urgent priority of cities and citizens. So the citizens see actually that this co-creation process is win-win process, not only between government and social solidarity economic entities, but most importantly for the citizens themselves. And I think this alliance is very important to secure permanent and more organized space of dialogue. And that means that even social solidarity economic entities, they need constantly to be in dialogue with citizens, ensuring really a bottom-up participatory process. And I think this is not very easy, even during the COVID, for instance, situation, because everybody is struggling really to survive in a difficult time of crisis. And it's not so easy, actually, to get engaged in discussing with others.
Thank you, Laurence. Thank you. I'm sorry, time is running short. And I agree that it's very important to collect our stories, because this is really how we can prove and demonstrate that SSE is not something to be afraid of, but rather something that can benefit us all. Vic.
Yes, okay, I'll come in on these questions very quickly. Thank you. I think, first of all, starting at the policy level, because that was for Jamila's question, and a few people talked about policy. We must not fool ourselves. Many countries have got policies on social and solidarity economy, but they're not in the mainstream of the national development plans. They're not part of the national strategic planning. It's like a thing on the side that they deal with. We've got to get these policies mainstreamed as part of the national strategic plans. And until we get that done, we'll find that it'll always be a second-rate citizen kind of exercise. Now, the one exercise we've just completed in South Africa is we've got a donor to come in and sponsor, and it's taken us almost 2 years to craft a policy at the macro level included into the National Development Plan on the social and solidarity economy. That's the start. Regarding the citizens and the involvement of citizens, The only way to do that is to make sure that there is a coordination of activities and that voices are heard. I come back to South Africa because I know that best as my home country. At the National Bargaining Council, or the National, they call it NEDLAC, which is the National Economic Development and Labor Council, all countries in Africa and the developing economy have got three players: organized business, the private sector, organized workers, and the government. In South Africa, they built a fourth component into it, which is the community. And the community have a seat at the table at the development of any national and strategic policy frameworks where they can provide input and ensure that their voice is heard. We need more of that structural intervention, which goes from national government to local government. And at local government level, we've also insisted on having the community leaders in all different forms, from women to the youth to the social entrepreneurship organizations at the table. And the more we can get that right on a collective basis, the more the voices will be heard. It's not an easy task because politics does intervene. It's about leadership. It's about sometimes just survival. And the last point I want to make is we need to bear in mind that when we deal with topics like the social and solidarity economy, it's often like talking about gender. In the ILO, I find we talk about mainstreaming gender. So you'll find a policy that's written and suddenly someone will say, oh, we forgot about gender. So you find a sentence that you can build somewhere into this document that says, and we are mindful of gender. I find the same kind of thinking when it comes to social and solidarity economy. Oh, we've forgotten about the social and solidarity economy. Let's build a one-liner in the policy. We've got to move beyond that if we're going to make any difference. And that's why we've got to now get serious about policy formulation and regulatory frameworks beyond what we know it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vic, because what you have both said in the last part of this conversation, and also building on what Madani has said, social and solidarity economy is not an afterthought. It is not just about social inclusion. It is about reframing the economic paradigm. And we know that if we do not do this now, and now rather than now later, climate change is upon us, pandemics are upon us, and we have proven more so than ever in the last 3 months, the resiliency of social and solidarity economy. We now need to take this, as Vic has said, into a policy paradigm that is actually a reality for all of our citizens around the world. I would really like to thank the people from all 5 continents who have participated. I'm really impressed. We have North America, Latin America, Africa, Europe, and Asia that were all present here. We are missing Australia because of, I think, a very unfavorable time for them. It's the middle of their night now. So it has been a huge privilege to moderate this public policy dialogue. I would like to also thank Laure and Angela for their work on the pads to facilitate the interpretation. And I would like to remind everybody that in the framework of the World Social Forum on Transformative Economies, that there will be 2 tables on public policy as well on the 26th, dealing with the local dimension, and on the 30th, again on the international dimension. It is a different audience, perhaps. And I look forward to seeing and hearing some of you when we get to the 26th and the 30th. Thank you to all of the participants, including from Mayotte. We don't often see people from islands joining in like this, so I'm very grateful to see you there as well. And thank you to everybody, and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye. It was
Bye-bye.
very
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you.